All right, guys, welcome to part two of this two-part lab. So we're still using the same topology. We've actually completed the basic settings, and we've started with configuring the devices to support IP management and reachability. But one of the things that we haven't done yet is setting up the static routes. So we are about to do that now. So let me kind of give you a little overview of where we left off. So on PC1, we noticed that we were able to go to PC1 and we were able to do telnet and SSH session to router 1, but we were not able to get to router 2. And one of the things, the reason we were not able to get to router 2 is because, let me see if I could draw here. Router PC what's happening to my draw thing here? Okay, so PC1s send the packet to router 1, which is its default gateway. Router 1 in turn send the packet up to router 2. However, router 2 does not know how to get back to this network, which is actually hosted on router 2. So if we should go right now and take a look at router 2's routing table, we'll realize that it doesn't know how to get there. Let's do that. All right. So if I do show IP route, we notice router 2 doesn't know anything about getting back to router to the network 192.168.1.0 that's hosted off router 1. So let's teach it how to get there. That's where static route comes in. So we're going to say IP route (192.168.1.0) 255.255.255.0, drop it off to 192.168.12.1. So on router 2, I'm saying, hey, Mr. Router 2, if you are trying to get to a network with 192.168.1.0 and a subnet mask of 255.255.255.0, drop it off to your next hop router, which is router 1. Router 1 should know how to get there, right? And once we do that, if we were to go back and take a look now, try to do a ping, which is ping 192.168.12.2, it should know how to get back now. Hopefully I didn't screw anything up, which would not be the first time. So yeah, there's something that got messed up. I'm not sure where it got messed up, but let's take a look here because it's not responding, right? So let me just check my IP configs. Oh, okay, here it is. All right, so I see my IP address is there, but my default gateway is not configured. So once I put that in and I go back, now it's supposed to be able to do it. So, all right, good. So now I could also ping the far side, which is router 2's interface, right? And there we go, right? We're able to ping it, no problem whatsoever. All right, so being that we're able to ping it now, I should be able to go SSH -L, specify the username, which is admin. I'm sorry, -L, specify the username, which is admin 192.168.12.2. And we're able to get in, which is Cisco. So that's, again, let's try Cisco, all lowercase. What did I do here? Okay, good. And now it's class. All right, and we're in the router. No issues whatsoever. All right, so that's the first static route that we put in. But that's not the network that we really care about. I just wanted to show you that. Let me kind of clean these drawings off here. Let's go to drawing, clear all, it's gone. All right, so, oh man, clear all. Let's get out of the drawing and we're good. All right, so now what we're really trying to do is from PC1 to PC2 and PC2 to PC1. So we have to now teach router 1 we have to now teach router 1 how to get to router, to get to 192.168.4.0 network /24. So router 1 is going to send its packet over to here, and router 2 is going to send the packet over to router 4. 192.168.4.0 is actually connected to router 4. Then it will do a broadcast, and everything on the, on that internet, that network subnet will actually hear that broadcast. But it's going to send the packet down to PC2, basically. And the same thing will happen. Router 4 will now have to respond back to router 2, and router 2 will now need to know how to get down to the network that's hosted on router 1. So there are two ways that it could go. Router 4 has the option of sending the packet to router 2, or it can also send it to router 3. And router 3 will send it over to router 1. Router 1 also has an option. It could send it down to router 3, or it could send it up to router 2. So we're going to put two routes in here in router 1. We're going to say, hey, we want you to prefer the route going up through router 2. However, if the route to router 2 is not available, we want you to send it down to router 3. And for router 4, we're going to say, hey, we're going to prefer for you to send it back up through router 2. However, if that's not available, then you're going to use router 3 as your other option. So let's kind of clear this drawing off, and let's dive right in and get it configured. So on router 1, I am going to go on router 1. I'm going to say, so the network of interest here, guys, from router 1's perspective is 192.168.4.0 network. So we're going to go IP route. Golly, I'm really having a hard time this morning. So IP route 192.168.4.0, 255.255.255.0, and we're going to drop it off to my next hop router, which is 192.168.12.2, right? I am going to now say, like we decided, if router 2 is not available and you're trying to get to 192.168.4.0 with a subnet mask of 255.255.0, I want you to drop it off to 192.168.13.3. Okay, but I'm giving it a higher administrative distance so that it prefers it. It's the least preferred path, right? So I already told router 1 what to do when it needs to get to my 192.168.4 network. I'm going to now go on router 2, and from router 2's perspective, I'm going to say, hey, if you're trying to get to 192.168.4.0 with a subnet mask of 255.255.0, I want you to drop it off to 192.168.24.4, right? Because this is where it's going to drop it off to. Now, so that's good. I also now need to tell router 2 how to get back to router 1's 192.168.1.0 network. So I'm going to say IP route 192.168.1.0 with a subnet mask of 255.255.0. If you're trying to get there, you need to drop it off to 192.12.1, right? And so we're good from router 2's perspective. Now on router 3, we need to go to router 3. Router 3, just like router 2, sits in the middle. It doesn't know anything about 192.168.4 or 192.168.1. We can look at that as soon as we go in. We could just go to IP route, and show IP route is the one that's going to tell us. So it doesn't know anything about .1 or .4. So we're going to teach it. We're going to say, hey, Mr. Router 3, if you're trying to get to 192.168.4.0 network with a subnet mask of 255.255.0, we want you to drop it off to 192.168.34.4, right? And if you're trying to get to 192.168.1.0, 255.255.255.0, we want you to drop it off to 192.168.13.1. Okay, so these are the routes. We're saying these are the routes to get to 4 network and the routes to get to the 1 network. All right, so let's go over to router 4 now. Router 4, like router 1, has two paths. The preferred path that we want it to take is router 2. So look, if we go show IP route, it doesn't know about getting back to 1.0 network. We notice it's not there. It's just 4.0, 24.0, 34.0. So we're going to add it in. And once we're done, we're going to look at the IP route, by the way. Show IP route. We're going to say if you're trying to get to 192.168.1.0, Mr. Router 4, with a subnet mask of this, you're going to drop it off to 192.168.24.2. By default, static routes, by the way, are the administrative distance is 1. So the lower number is always going to be preferred. So here, we're saying if you're trying to get to the same network, and here's another path, but you're only going to use the other path through router 3 if router 2 is not available. And that's what we just did. So we just said, if you're going through 192.168.1.0, 255.255.255.0, drop it off to 192.168.34.3 only if this first route is not available. So if we look in the routing table, even though we have specified 2 routes here, we're only going to see one route show up in the routing table. And that's it right here. One route showing up in the routing table. However, if we were to shut gigabit 01 down, then we would see the route going to router 3 is now available. Let's take a look. Gigabit 0/0. If we were to shut that down and go back and look, show IP route, look at what happens. The route that's going through router 3 is now injected because the preferred route to go through router 2 is no longer available. See what I mean, guys? So now the moment I do no shut and that interface comes up, let me just see, gigabit 0/0. Oh God. And I do no shut. Okay, let's try this. Hopefully we'll get it one day. All right, good. And it comes back. So now if we go back and look at show IP route, and you know, guys, make sure that you're trying these things in your lab, right? Not just watching the video. We see that the right route is injected. All right, so from that perspective, that's good. So we have now configured static routes here to go to router 3 and router 2. We've configured static routes in router 2 to drop off anything going to 192.168.4 network, drop it off to router 4, and anything going to 192.168.1 network, drop it off to router 1. And on router 3, we also did the same thing, going in both directions. So if all was configured properly, I should be able to now go from PC 1 and ping all the way over to PC 2, right? And I hope I did things right. If not, we're gonna have to try to fix it. Let's see what happens there. I am not sure what's happening. Oh, look at that. Okay, so while it did its ARP, it dropped two packets, and I can't speak today. And you know, it's now responding, no issues whatsoever. So now, with that said, being that I'm able to get to the computer, I'm also supposed to be able to get to router 4 and by SSH. So I could do that by going SSH -L, the username is admin, and I'm trying to get to 192.168.4.4, right? Boom, I'm able to get there, and I'm gonna put the password in, right? And we're good. By the way, if you notice, I chose to use the LAN side interface to get to router 2, but I could use to router 4, but I could use any interface that I wanted to use. I could actually use, you know, this interface here, which is 24.4. So I could still go, you know, SSH. Let me SSH -L admin and 192.168.24.4. You know what? That's not going to work. And let me show you why it's not going to work. Because I'm glad I did that. Because over here in router 1, we did not teach it how to get to that network. Show IP route. Right, we didn't teach it how to get to that network, so that's why it didn't work. Right, so we could easily do that now. If you're trying to get to remote network 192.168.24.0, 255.255.255.0, 255.0, drop it off to 192.168.12.1, which is my next hop router. Not 2, by the way, which is my next hop router, because I was on network, I was on router 1. So if I were to go back over here now and try to do the same thing that bombed recently, I would be able to get there. All right, so I see the password is Cisco and it's class. All right, so we're able to do all of that. Now, the only thing that's left to be done is for us to configure an IP on our switch so that we can also manage our switch. So if we look on the switch, by the way, the switch show IP interface brief, right? There are no IPs configured there right now. So there's one thing that we have to do. We're going to use VLAN 1. Interface VLAN 1, which is SVI. We're going to assign an IP address to it, 192.168.4.100. We're going to use 255.255.255.0. And we're going to no shut this interface. So the interface is up. So we could go back and look at the same thing, show IP interface brief, exclude unassigned. So I don't want to see the IP, the interfaces that do not have any IP address connected to it. BRIEF. Oh Lord, show IP interface brief, exclude unassigned. All right, so we see that this IP address is there. Now, it has an IP address, but if we go over here and we try to ping it, it will not work, right? And let me show you why. So if I go 192.168.4.100, it's not going to respond. And the reason it's not responding, guys, is this. It doesn't have a default gateway. So what we need to do, we need to specify a default gateway on the switch. So it's IP default gateway, and the default gateway would be the same default gateway that we've configured on the workstation, which is 192.168.4.4. And once we do that, and we go back and ping on our PC, it should start working. We might lose a packet or two for ARP, and then it starts working. Now we see that that's working. So now we can also do SSH. So it's SSH minus L. We're using username admin, and we're trying to get to 192.168.4.100. And again, we can get in with admin, not admin, but Cisco, and password is class. So now we're on the switch 2. All right. So I think we've actually achieved all our objectives. All right. So I hope you enjoy this lab, and if you do have any questions and are concerned, please do not hesitate to reach out to us here at Network Academy Online, and we'll be more than happy to help you. Thank you, and I see you in the next video.